Hello and welcome to a special edition of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years, and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Tom Caron along with Rob Bradford. Baseball isn't boring. Trade deadlines are not boring.
Oh, I love the trade. I love being here with you. There's nobody I'd rather be with.
If we logged how many hours you and I have filled here on this trade deadline show, it'd probably be longer than we would like to.
I gotta be honest with you, TC. This is the most activity that if we combined about the 5 trade deadlines, we've already had more in this one than we had in those.
I think that's exactly right. JP Riccairdi, longtime Major League general manager. You've been in the catbird seat for these things. We've seen some action today. This has been a pretty busy day.
It's basically playing out the way we thought. You know, it seems to now with so many teams that are in it, it goes right up to the deadline, as you know. It seems to run right to that Saturday, Sunday. And then once one team starts, it seems like it opens up the floodgates, and that's exactly what's been happening.
All right, the Red Sox making their big move within the last hour as they make a deal with the Baltimore Orioles. Adley Rutschman, the catcher, has been acquired by the Red Sox. Carlos Narváez, Eyanson, Kyson Witherspoon, Enddy Azocar going in return. It's a lot to pay. Let's begin with Rutschman and what he does for this team. They wanted to add some power. They wanted to add some offense. They're adding it with Rutschman.
You're getting a frontline catcher. You're getting a perennial all-star. You're getting a guy who is a little bit banged up, but when healthy is a very, very good player. And not only do you have him for the rest of this year, for the pennant drive, you also have him for next year.
Is it too much to pay?
No, I never say it's too much to pay, because I'll come back to what they were saying since November. Our goal is to be a World Series team. That you need to make World Series moves at this time of year. You had earned the right to do that. That clubhouse had earned the right to actually add those type of players. So this is a World Series or bust type of move. And this is, as JP knows, man, this is the cost of doing business. It is what it is. I don't want to get caught up in wins and losses of trades, because how many times, even the biggest trades that we've seen, the Chris Sale trade, whatever, we say, oh, well, you can't give that up. And then 4 years later, oh, well, it was definitely worth it. I think that for the way that this team is constructed, guys, what you needed was this sort of personality, this sort of presence, this sort of message. And, by the way, you got a great potential mustache in Jake Rogers as well. So,
which I'm sure was the finalizing part of the deal to get this done. There had been reports that it was 5 players going in return. It's 4 players plus a player to be named later. There was a long period from the early reports that this was happening, and I had been told that they were close to getting it done. A long stretch until it got done. He's on the injured list right now. It's a wrist issue. There's talk that the medicals slowed things down. How concerned were you when you were looking at a guy that you're trying to add for this stretch run, but he's on the IL?
Well, this is when your team doctors now become a big part of the decisions you make. And obviously you have to get assurance from them that this is something he's going to be able to come back from. It's not anything major, and hopefully he comes back from it really quick. So I have to lean on my doctors. None of us went to medical school. That's the one time that they jump in and they become part of the team.
You know, and we go back to 2021, where the Red Sox acquired Kyle Schwarber, and he had a hamstring injury, didn't play for about a month. They had to get some assurance, hey, listen, this isn't going to be something that's going to linger through September and into October. Now, the difference is, you know, I would feel a whole lot better if it was a hamstring instead of a wrist.
Right.
But at the same time, to your point, JP, this is the Red Sox medical staff is part of this deal. The Red Sox medical staff has been part of this season. Woo. Let's be honest with you.
No doubt about that.
There was a lot of pressure there. Coming back to when they agreed to this, which is seemingly early in the day, all of a sudden the pressure came on this group of people who have already come under the microscope in this season.
You mentioned Schwarber, and I think that's a great comp to bring up, right? Because for 2-3 weeks after that trade, people were getting frustrated. You got a guy, is he ever going to play for this team?
Right.
And he wound up being exactly what that team needed. They went from nowhere to 2 wins away from a World Series. Can Rutschman have that kind of impact with the team?
Well, no offense to Wong and Narváez, but he's a major upgrade. This is a perennial all-star. When this guy's healthy, he's a really, really good player. You can bat him in different parts of that lineup. He's a switch hitter. He brings a lot of flexibility to the lineup. I think it's a great move by the Red Sox, and I think look, you're either in it to win it or you're not. And this was a step that they say we're trying to win this thing.
If you don't know Adley Rutschman, first pick overall, obviously a 3-time All-Star. As we said earlier, a switch hitter. Now in his 5th season, again, 3 of those were All-Star seasons, including this year. He went to the All-Star game this year for his 3rd All-Star appearance. It's a few years removed from his Silver Slugger Award. He was in the Home Run Derby there as well. But again, another adult in the room, right?
Yeah.
We've been talking about that. You've seen what Contreras has done, the impact he's had with this young team. You're going to have another guy who's been to the playoffs, who knows what it's like to get over the finish line.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I did not quote a great man who said, worry about what you're getting and not what you're giving up. Great man sitting right here.
That's beautiful.
But it's true. What you're getting is exactly that, DC. Not only a good player, a useful player, but a guy who is an adult in the room, who is a leader. All you have to do is watch Adley Rutschman when a pitcher finishes his half inning. What he does routinely is runs and greets him at the baseline. And I've always found that fascinating. That's like, okay, you know what? Let's revisit what exactly just happened. And there is so many elements of this. Obviously, he's a talented offensive player who can get on a run and can hit home runs, all of what they need. But I think that you hit the nail on the head. They still needed guys who understood what it took to get through a major league season. I think this guy does.
When you talk about this guy coming into this team, we've talked about, is it tough to make a trade within the division? Clearly, the Orioles didn't mind. In fact, at the beginning of the day, everybody you heard that was in on Rutschman was an American League team. It was the Yankees, it was the Red Sox, it was the Rays. You see his numbers this season with Baltimore in the 67 games, played 90 games. The injuries are a concern, and we'll get to that in a moment. But what does his knowledge of the American League East do as a catcher? How much of an advantage is that for the Red Sox?
Well, I think it's obviously a big advantage because he knows what it's like to play in Yankee Stadium. He knows where it is to get beat in Yankee Stadium. He knows what, obviously Boston, now he's on that side. But you also have to remember that Baltimore's pitching staff was not very good. He's inheriting a really good pitching staff. The young guys are going to lean on him. I think it's a big, big plus for those young guys. And I'm just fooling around here writing down the lineup. And I look at him in the middle of that lineup compared to, no offense, to Wong and to Narváez. He just lengthens the lineup with a lot more pop, a lot more credibility. That's a good-looking lineup.
He's got 16 games as a DH this year. He's got DH experience. Could that be a fit for him to get him in a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, you want to get to the guy to the finish line. I mean, this is a big part of this, is that even if when he comes back from this wrist injury, if you have to take a little bit longer, you mentioned Schwarber. People should remember this. They lost. I mean, they lost a bunch, and everyone's like, oh, this is what you did? You got Hansel Robles and Big Fudge Austin Davis? But next thing you know, he becomes an iconic figure. And I do want to come back to the American League East thing because you should understand how important it is familiarity, and JP knows this. You did the deal with Taboni, obviously familiar with him. Mike Elias and Craig Breslow played together at Yale. They are legit friends. They are former college teammates. And I think to do something like that, to understand each other, their language, they're talking. Elias, when they're at spring training, they're hanging in the same suite. Again, you would know better than I, but I think that goes a long way to find those guys in the game that you feel comfortable with.
Well, I think that's a really good point because familiarity sometimes allows you to be able to make those trades. But in fairness to the Red Sox, you got to take your hat off to their scouting and their player development because without them, they don't have the people to make this trade. And I don't care how familiar you are with anybody. If you don't have players, the other guy's not going to make a trade with you. So the scouts and the player development people deserve a tip of the cap.
Can we also just pump the brakes, as you like to say, and stop on how much they gave up? As you said, forget about who you gave up. This is what the Red Sox used to do.
It's the cost of doing business.
But they haven't been like this in a while, right? You haven't seen them. And you could say, it was Connolly early too much to give up for Curtis Meade. Maybe, but I'd rather have a team that is in the hunt and is willing to give up trade capital, prospect capital, to get a guy that puts them over the edge. That means they're trying to win now. I've had enough of prospect rankings. I want parades.
I love it. The one thing I think we've gotten away from in our game, nobody talks about winning. And that's what this trade is all about. It's about winning. The players have earned the right to put themselves in the position. The front office has done a great job of complimenting them, and they're trying to win. It's refreshing instead of hearing process and asset acquisitions. It's just a great, great baseball move.
You know, what's good for business, and the team that you just played is the best example, is winning the World Series or even being in the World Series. That's what's best for business. And when people can get their head around that, that's when you understand, okay, this is how you make deals like this. And I agree with you about the development of these guys. Let's not forget, we can talk about Anthony Eyanson now, but he was a third-round pick. Like, good for them for identifying him, developing him, getting him at peak performance when everyone's like, oh, my goodness, this guy's throwing 100. And then you also draft a guy in the first round, which in Kyson Witherspoon, that people actually want.
And you know what people don't realize, Rob, is part of drafting players is having them for the ability to trade them. And that's what they've done. I think and you just saw the Blue Jays do that with their
As long as you have the faith that you can continue to draft and develop behind them.
Braden Montgomery, another example. Now you have, look at the first round picks they've had, that they've traded. Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, Kyson Witherspoon. It's okay, because you know where you've landed? You've landed as potentially the best team in the American League with a legitimate chance to be in the World Series.
All right.